mile away from the USC campus. You know what that means? It means more traffic. It means more pedestrian traffic. It means people coming to and going from the university, the Coliseum as well, and all the activities that happen in and around USC. Westbound now speeds, I'm guesstimating, at about 45, 50 miles per hour. And crossing Main now. The left to right, you see it coming up the nose. That'll be Main. He's going to try to run that red light, get in and out of that traffic. This is like a game of Frogger. Remember that video game from years ago? So it made that cross over to Main. That might be Jefferson westbound. It's being left on the Harbor Freeway here as well. And once again, in that silver pickup truck, we can't tell if there's anybody with that driver. So see, LAPD officers taking this very gently. They're handling it very efficiently, very carefully. They don't know if there's anybody else inside that car being held, perhaps against their will. There could even be children in that vehicle. This is reported as a DUI suspect. LAPD officers watching this guy's every move as he goes in and out of these buildings near the SC campus, and passing Grand now as we continue eastbound near USC in that silver pickup truck. And he just went under the Harbor Freeway eastbound. We'll see what he does here coming up on Figueroa. He might make that southbound turn, and he does. That'll be coming up on the Old Shrine. He may try to use this on southbound on Flower. He may use Flower and try and access the Harbor Freeway. At this point, I think he'd be better off on the Harbor Freeway with lighter traffic, and would all be better off keeping that silver pickup truck out of surface streets, off of surface streets, away from pedestrians, away from people simply trying to get to and from work, to and from school. It looks like he will use that on-ramp to try and access the freeway. We'll see what happens here. Southbound on Flower. He just came down from Jefferson heading towards central LA into South LA. I see the freeway sign right there, so he might follow these signs and try and join the freeway, and he's going to be met with a lot of traffic here, so trying to cut his way in and out of that traffic will prove to be very difficult. And looks like he'll try and use the left lane, which should be the carpool lane only. There's the diamond. That's the HOV lane only, carpool lane only, and see LAPD officers right on top of this guy. As he continues to join the freeway here, southbound on the Harbor Freeway, this being near the King Boulevard and Exposition off-ramps. We'll come around and clear that wall for you in just a second. As he continues southbound here, but stays with the freeway, LAPD officers no doubt will be in very close contact with the California Highway Patrol, and then at one point they may turn the pursuit over to the California Highway Patrol. Once again, to reiterate, this is reported as a possible DUI suspect. A number of times along the way in downtown LA and central LA, he's actually stopped. Thought the pursuit was going to be over. It's kind of a standoff, but kind of a cat and mouse game, which we've seen before, and the chase is on again. So you know, there's nowhere for that suspect to go. This freeway is just loaded with LAPD officers, CHP officers, no doubt. I don't see them yet, but they will be at the ready. They will be standing by. It's actually a CHP headquarters about a mile away from here, near the 4-level interchange near downtown LA. So he'll continue on this collector lane, which will give him access, push in tight to the Harbor Freeway southbound, and you see all those LAPD cruisers right behind him. Even if they had to pull off, they got the police helicopter overhead. So he's cruising now at about 5 miles per hour, and he might come to a stop once again, but LAPD officers are handling this very gently, very gingerly. They haven't implemented a pit maneuver just yet, most likely because of the slow speed here. As he picks up a little more speed, maybe exits the freeway, they might try that pit maneuver, provided they can ensure the safety of all the pedestrians and all the other traffic as well. Kind of a safe speed now. He's got the windows rolled down, at least the left window rolled down so I can see inside there, but the rear window, as you can see, and the back window, they appear to be tinted, so I can't see if there's anybody else inside that pickup truck. Driving very slowly, very methodically. He's already had at least 2 crashes. We saw him make a westbound turn in downtown LA and hit one car, backed up and backed into an LAPD cruiser. That's extremely dangerous, but LAPD cruisers are staying very defensive. They're not being offensive. They're giving him a wide berth. They're about 3 or 4 car lengths behind, and there's a number of these LAPD officers. Open up that shot for you just a bit southbound on the 110. He's now got the right lane taken here, and he may try to push into the inside lanes. What we don't know is how much fuel is on board that pickup truck. However, in law enforcement, they have a number of cruisers, an unlimited number of cruisers, and that means an unlimited supply of fuel. At one point, this guy has to run out of gas. LAPD officers, CHP officers, they can't run out of gas. There's just too many cruisers as he continues here southbound on the 110. Middle of your freeway, that's the elevated carpool lane, what some folks call the flyover. That's for carpoolers only. There's a bus lane up there as well. He's on the main line of the freeway. We're coming up on the Vernon Avenue off-ramp. This is in South LA, southbound on the 110. And looking off the nose of the helicopter, much heavier than average this afternoon. Average speeds right now through South LA en route to the 105. It looks to be about 10, maybe 15 miles per hour. It's generally a little bit lighter. He's holding steady now in the middle lane, southbound on the 110. And at 5 or 10 miles per hour, it's going to take him at least 20, maybe 25 minutes to make it down to the 105 after the Century Freeway, after South LA. That's where speeds generally improve down towards San Pedro and the South Bay, where he'll also have access at one point to the San Diego Freeway. So crossing the 51st Street overpass, next stop's going to be Slauson Avenue. And I can see off the nose of the helicopter, that LAPD helicopter, it's about 300 feet over the top of that suspect being pursued. And we'll stay on top of this as well. We'll let you know the progress that LAPD officers and perhaps CHP officers make as this chase continues in South LA. And back to you in the studio.
Oh, Bill, thank you very much. Worst kind of pursuit, though, because rush hour traffic, a big, heavy truck, and under the influence and driving erratically, probably a worst-case scenario there.
As Bill mentioned, he's playing kind of cat and mouse with law enforcement, going at a very rapid speed, going in the wrong way on the freeway, and then going almost to a complete halt sometimes, and just driving about 5 miles an hour with the police closely behind him. Now, we're trying to gather some video for you to watch of this pursuit, because he's already had one collision. Eventually, you'll be able to see his front end of the vehicle, and you'll see some damage there because he ran into a minivan at a stoplight.
Right.
And then he's also been, for quite extended periods of time, going the wrong way down the street. Here's a collision.
Watch him run right into that truck, and then he'll back up right into the police cruiser.
Right, and then as Bill pointed out, that's a very dangerous move, and we have seen these things escalate into a shooting at that point, but the police kept their cool, stayed behind him, they continued to follow him, and there he is on the freeway, continued to drive along, seemingly under control, along with traffic, but there are situations then, he'll decide to suddenly erratically take off.
Looks like a couple times he wanted to stop and maybe thought about it for a little bit, but then took off again once the police were right on his tail. So
passing Slauson right now, from what we understand, on the 110 freeway.
Yeah, and going slowly, and then he picks up speed. He's, right now apparently he's a DUI suspect, but we don't know for sure.
And we don't know if he has a passenger. We don't know what else is in that vehicle.
Hopefully
I think
not.
He's driving with.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he's slipping over here, but still going on the same side of the road here. It's always tricky when you see them when it comes to lines. Let's see what they're going to do here. If this is a pit maneuver. Let's go to Bill. An attempted pit maneuver right there. Very dangerous. We can see the cars nearby. Some even seen it coming and getting out of the way. But that can be a very dangerous maneuver, especially with other vehicles and with the high rate of speed, plus that huge vehicle. As we all know, pickup trucks are big. They're very heavy, cumbersome.
Coming up on Florence right now, we've seen that thing in the back of this truck as a barrel of some type. We've seen it kind of fly around in the back of there, so hopefully that won't cause any problems as well.
That maneuver, though, does kind of indicate that the police are trying to push this along, try to get it over with. At least they saw an opportunity there. But here he is, once again, moving at a high rate of speed. Will this affect his behavior? We don't know, but he might be doing it again. Let's go to Bill Thomas. Bill.
Hey guys, we just saw the pit maneuver. There's the second pit maneuver as he tries to get his way in and out of traffic in the carpool lane. This is on the southbound 110. We're coming up on Manchester. That was a second attempt at a pit maneuver. It hasn't worked real effectively just yet, and a very dangerous time for a pit maneuver with those speeds and with all this afternoon traffic. It looks like he may have just hit somebody there again. He's doing all he can to get away from officers. And you see traffic at a dead standstill right now. That's because up ahead, what you can't see, CHP officers in concert with LAPD officers. They've shut the whole freeway down. It's over at Manchester. LAPD officers right there out in the middle of the street. They're actually going to approach the suspect. We'll keep it a little wide. That's a very dangerous maneuver. And most likely, they've got a spike strip up right there, and that might be why they stopped traffic. That's unclear because our shots a little wide will come right back in. But they are getting a little offensive at this point. Generally, they're very defensive. And this is very complicated to drive a big pickup truck, a large full-size pickup truck, in and out in between lanes, in between the carpool and left lanes. We can't see if he's actually hitting people along the way, but you can see a number of folks. They know what's going on. They hear the sirens. They see the officers behind them, and they push off to the right. So they've had plenty of time here, CHP officers and LAPD officers, to get those spike strips out. Most likely they have, and here comes what will probably be the third attempt at a pit maneuver. We generally see these at about 30, 40 miles per hour or a little less, and they wait till the suspect is in a bit of a turn, and then they hit the rear quarter panel, which spins him out of control. He's going to try it right here. Coming up on Manchester, that one was more effective, spins him out of control, and now he might just continue on. Yes, he does. Every time you take that vehicle and aim it toward a police officer, though, they can view that as an assault with a deadly weapon. I've seen it in the past, and that can lead to shots being fired. So they've already done 3 pit maneuvers. The last one was relatively effective, spun him out of control, and you wonder just how much damage that pickup truck can take. He's already had a number of accidents. He's been spun out of control. He's been hit by police officers on the freeway, and these are LAPD officers in the lead right now, the ones you just saw do that pit maneuver, but I do believe I saw CHP officers on the freeway as well, and at one point, LAPD officers may call in, may turn this over to the California Highway Patrol. The reason traffic is so light right now is because just behind us at Manchester, they shut the whole freeway down. CHP officers came in, blocked off all traffic. They might have sandwiched him in, but he found a way to push his way through. That's a suspected DUI suspect as he continues southbound on the 110, well below Manchester now, and in less than a mile, he'll be hitting the 105, the Century Freeway. We're coming up now on Century Boulevard. That's the next ramp you'll see. That is a full-size pickup truck. Looks to be perhaps a Chevy or a Dodge pickup truck. Well-fortified vehicle. It's got plenty of power, and if he's got a full tank of gas, he can go for quite some time. Passing Century Boulevard right now, he's straddling between the carpool lane and the far left lane. South 110 is going to commit to the freeway. As we mentioned earlier, after the 105 traffic gets very light, and as you can see off the nose of the helicopter, open up just a bit, you'll see there's absolutely no traffic on the 110. So he's got on the 110 southbound, he's got a clear shot all the way through the 105, down toward the San Diego freeway into Carson, then he might continue southbound into San Pedro. Now, we picked this up a short while ago in downtown LA. We followed it in South LA. This guy made a number of ran a number of red lights, ran a number of stop signs as well. We're going to lose that suspect as he goes under the 105, and there he is again. He'll come out under the 110 and the 105. And you'll see LAPD officers coming out under that bridge in just a moment as well. And there they are. We're going to tilt up just a bit, and he'll come right back into view. Keep tilting up just a bit more, and you'll see the suspect in that pickup truck. That should illustrate for you just how fast that guy is driving. Right now, we're indicating about 80, 85 miles per hour, and we're actually behind this guy. So he's got to be doing 90, maybe even 100 miles per hour. Now, we crossed the 105 southbound on the 110. Next stop's going to be El Segundo Boulevard, where I see just a little bit of congestion on the main line of the freeway. But he's off to the left. That's the HOV, or the high occupancy vehicle lane, or the carpool lane, which is now actually called the express lane. And you actually need a transponder to use those lanes. These are fee-only uses, but he's using it at his discretion. South on the 110 in the express lane. And the next stop we'll see is going to be where the 110 comes up on the 91. We crossed through El Segundo. We're passing Rosecrans now, and he's about a mile, maybe a mile and a half away from the 91. At that point, he may offset, jump off the freeway, pick up Artesia Boulevard and go west, or make the westbound turn on, make the eastbound turn onto the 91 and go east on the Artesia Freeway. He may continue and go southbound down toward the San Diego Freeway and San Pedro. We don't know where he came from or where he's going, but at this rate of speed, wherever he's going, he's going to make it there lickety-split, showing no signs of slowing down, running red lights, running stop signs. We've seen at least 3 accidents along the way. LAPD officers on the Harbor Freeway. This is very rare. They implemented the pit maneuver 3 separate times. One time they did a pretty good job, spun the guy out of control, but he just picked up and kept right on going. Southbound on the 110. Now we're coming up on the Redondo Beach Boulevard off-ramp, but he can't access that from the express lane. The off-ramp is only accessible from the main line of the freeway, so he'll continue screaming along, most likely at between 90 and 100 miles per hour. We're going to offset so we don't lose him under the bridge. South on the 110, coming up on the 91. Now, he may offset and try and pick up the 91. Judging by where he's at right now, that'd be a good option for him. Or he may continue south on the 110. If you're just now joining us, we know very little about this suspect and whether or not there's anyone else in that pickup truck, but this is reported as a DUI suspect. Other than that, very limited information. We've got some debris in the back of the truck. The windows are pretty heavily tinted, so we can't see if there's anybody else in there. Even if there is somebody in there, looks like PD officers are still implementing that pit maneuver. This is going to be the elevated express lane that takes you over to 182nd Street, which is right on top of where the 91 and the 110 come together. It's kind of complicated, but he's working his way down toward Carson now, and we'll see where he goes on 182nd. He might try to swing around and rejoin the 110. And this may be an area he's familiar with. A lot of times these pursuits start in areas and end in areas where the suspect is most familiar. They have friends, they have family, perhaps they live there, perhaps they work there, they want to go somewhere that's familiar to them. But what he did do is exit the 110 off at 182nd. He'll come down now to the end of that bridge, and we'll see which way he goes, left or right, east or westbound. We'll track the progress of LAPD officers who at one time were working with CHP officers on the freeway, but now that it's off the freeway, this is going to be all LAPD, and there's that first cruiser right behind them, making the right turn now. That'll be right on 182nd. So the right turn means he's going westbound now. And I can see off the nose of the helicopter, traffic is pretty light on 182nd. This is going to be in the South Bay. Not sure where he's going to go now. I prefer the pursuits actually on the freeway because when you're on surface streets, things get very erratic. There are pedestrians. Sometimes the suspect doesn't see the pedestrian. They're just driving to get away for as long as they can, and accidents do happen. We've already seen that driver of the pickup truck crash at least 2, maybe 3 times.
He's in Gardena right now, Bill.
This is going to be in Gardena, exactly. On 182nd, making a stop, and he's done this a number of times, David, as you know. He'll stop, he'll go, he'll stop, he'll go. Kind of a cat and mouse game. We'll see if he makes that westbound turn here or just stops and cooperates with LAPD officers. Back to you.
Yeah, it is interesting to watch this. And here he is sitting still. Obviously, we, along with law enforcement, skeptical because this is what he's been doing, as you said, cat and mouse, where he suddenly stops. He looks like he might consider giving up. The police get out of the cars, and then he starts rolling again. And this time he's not moving fast. He's rolling slowly. And then, as he has been doing, suddenly he'll take off again, driving erratically. You know, back to the freeway, when we saw that action, Bill, I don't really recall seeing a freeway shut down like that in pursuit of a suspect like they did in this situation. Quite honestly, usually they are after this guy along with all the traffic. To see the freeway cleared out like that, highly unique.
Yeah, very unique. Not only see the whole freeway shut down in the course of a pursuit, but also very unique to see a pit maneuver on the Harbor Freeway. That's something you may have had a chance to throw out some of those spike strips, or stop sticks as they're sometimes called. We're going to push into the driver's side right front tire. I can't tell if it's blown out. It appears to be driving very slowly, and I thought I saw a little bit of lateral shifting, but looks at this time like the tires are still intact. Looks like a male driver. Windows are down, but I can't see anything else inside the cockpit. It's come to a stop here. This is on Vermont Avenue, northbound of Vermont. They've already crossed Artesia Boulevard, coming up from Gardena, and look at all these LAPD cruisers. There may be CHP officers in the rear as well. He has come to a stop. There's that cat and mouse game we've been seeing for quite some time. That's going to be 168th, northbound on Vermont, crossing 168th as he works his way out of Gardena and back toward South LA. Vermont Avenue, by the way, if you don't know too much about it, that takes you all the way from downtown LA and all the way down into the South Bay. It kind of parallels the Harbor Freeway for quite a long stretch, too. He's already on the 110 from downtown into the South Bay, and now he's just pretty much reversing course. Instead of using the Harbor Freeway, cruising slowly and methodically on Vermont Avenue, a major north-south corridor between the South Bay and downtown LA. And not sure where he's going to go next, but fortunately, at least for now, he's going rather slowly. On surface streets earlier, this guy was screaming. We watched this guy on Washington Boulevard near downtown LA actually driving his car, driving the pickup truck on the Metro Blue Line track. He had to offset off of Washington Boulevard because just in front of him there was actually a Metro Blue Line train. So he was westbound on Washington, offset, and actually westbound in eastbound lanes. Extremely dangerous, and at one point made a right turn, collided with somebody, backed up and hit an LAPD cruiser, hit the gas, and took off going. Once again, this guy, when he's caught, and he will be caught, he will be facing a number of charges. I've talked to LAPD officers a number of times over the years, and they have indicated, in fact, a number of law enforcement agencies, they have indicated that all the charges during these pursuits, they can be cumulative. So that means every red light he ran, every stop sign he ran, every incidence of reckless driving, the hit and runs, they're all cumulative, and that means that driver is facing a boatload of charges once this thing does come to an end. He'll pull over, he'll stop, he'll get out and surrender, or perhaps he'll just continue until he runs out of gas. So we'll keep the helicopter overhead. We'll continue monitoring the progress of LAPD officers northbound Vermont Avenue. He crossed 168th about a half a mile ago, continuing now up toward South LA. Back to you.
Yeah, obviously a conflicted guy because he's been, like you said, traveling very, very fast speeds, weaving in and out of traffic, going the wrong way on the Metro Blue Line track. And then he slows down. He has stopped about 5 different times, and we thought he was going to surrender. Cops cut right up behind him, and then he takes off again. So that cat and mouse game again. Also, he's hit about, I'd say, 4 different vehicles, including that police cruiser.
And back to the live picture there, where he's just simply waiting at a red light, Ellen, and he's Redondo Beach in Vermont, we're being told. That's where he is right now, still in Gardena. But sitting, waiting for a light, but sometimes he's erratic, sometimes he seems to be abiding, and using, as you said, his blinker.
Yeah, he's using his left-hand signal turn or right-hand signal turn, and go figure. But right now he's just sitting there in this traffic and wondering now what he will do, if he's just waiting for the light to turn. It's hard to say. You see a little bit of movement. He's reached down underneath his seat or something. There he takes off again.
Is that a sleeve? What is that we're looking at there on his right? I don't know what that is. Oh, that's his hat. That's him.
Yeah, he's wearing
hat.
a white baseball cap.
Okay. Yeah, he's got a cap of some sort. He's been driving with his window down. He's often been dangling his arm out the window, and there he goes again.
Northbound.
High rate of speed, then he slams on the brakes, just like you're seeing, and he waits.
He's.
I don't know if there's I don't see the rail. He's at a train stop, but the rail is not down. The arms are not down, so I think he's just choosing to stop there. Let's go to Bill Thomas.
Yeah, Bill, where is he now? Is he still on the northbound Vermont?
Yeah, he's still on Vermont Avenue northbound. Vermont is a major north-south corridor just to the west of the Harbor Freeway by about a quarter of a mile. Stopping and going, stopping and going. The windows are down now, so you can see, looks like a sleeveless shirt, a white cap. We're trying to determine just exactly what's in the back of that pickup truck. We can't tell just yet. Could be tools, debris, boxes, drums, unclear. We just hope it doesn't bounce out and hit somebody on surface streets. Fortunately, the speeds are relatively average here, about 35, 40 miles per hour. Traffic is reasonable right now. Not exactly what you'd call bumper-to-bumper traffic. Making a right turn off of Vermont into a McDonald's restaurant, and this may be where this comes to an end. There are a number of LAPD officers on this guy. You can't see him in that shot. We're going to keep it kind of tight for now to see what he does next. He might just pull over and call it a day here, and he might go under. That might be a gas station as well. So this is going to be a gas station at McDonald's. This is going to be just...
All right, we have a little
gas
bit of a
station on. He's trying to
signal
come around to the backside. There he is right there. He pulled over to this gas station, Rosecrans and Vermont. We thought he was going to stop. You can see the McDonald's restaurant. You see all the pedestrians off to the right side trying to take a look at all the action. And now he's going to pick up Rosecrans, and the chase is back on. We thought hopefully this guy would be coming to his senses, pulled over, but then he just kept right on going. Eastbound on Rosecrans from Vermont near Gardena, driving on the wrong side of the road here to try to get around that rush hour traffic. Rosecrans, wow, it's always a mess anywhere between LAX and Norwalk. Rosecrans is another major east-west corridor which connects Orange County with LA County, and this one is going to be right on top of the Harbor Freeway. Rosecrans eastbound at the 110. He got around that traffic somehow. This guy has got some real good luck in his favor this afternoon, getting around all that traffic, and we'll see what he does here. Maybe make a right turn. He may try to rejoin the freeway. So this is Rosecrans eastbound from the 110, and there he goes right back onto the Harbor Freeway. Personally, guys, I've seen too many terrible things happen on surface streets, at least on the freeway, although that has its inherent dangers. It keeps them off of surface streets, away from pedestrians, away from people going to and from school, to and from work, and folks just out and about trying to take care of their daily afternoon chores. So we're getting back onto the freeway. We'll see if he goes northbound. Yes, he does. Eastbound Rosecrans on-ramp to the Harbor Freeway northbound. So just as we saw this guy go from downtown into the South Bay, he's coming up from the South Bay now back into downtown. The whole thing is like deja vu, except he's going the opposite direction this time. 110 northbound coming up from Rosecrans. The speed's picking up now, 70, 75 miles per hour. He'll be up at the 105 in South LA in just a matter of about 2, maybe 3 minutes. I can see the El Segundo Boulevard off the nose of the helicopter. This is a chase been following now for well over 35, 40 minutes. A reported DUI driver. LAPD officers picked this guy up in downtown LA over on San Pedro Street and Olympic. There was a standoff a number of times. The suspect just pulled over, stopped. We thought it was over. One of those cat and mouse things which we've seen far too many times. He hit the gas and took off again, and we've seen that a number of times. He went south on the Harbor Freeway. LAPD officers working side by side with their partners at the California Highway Patrol shut the freeway down. Rush hour traffic, South 110 at Manchester, right in the middle, right in the thick of things, shut the whole freeway down to accommodate this pursuit. They tried to bring it to an end, but the guy went right through the closure, continued into Gardena, now back on the Harbor Freeway northbound. He'll be approaching the 105 in about a quarter of a mile. Once again, a suspected DUI driver. Hopefully this guy comes to his senses and just pulls over, but at this point, he's going to stick with what we call the express lanes. These used to be the carpool lanes. These now require a transponder to use. And he's going to use them at his will, 110 northbound, as he works his way under the 105 in just about a quarter of a mile. Now, traffic looks very light right here, but in a quarter of a mile, just after the 105, the North 110, this is typical this time of the afternoon. Traffic gets extremely heavy, except for the elevated carpool lane or the express lane. That, if he uses that, that'll get him into downtown reasonably quick. But the main line of the freeway, which we'll be showing you here momentarily, is extremely congested. A little bit of a shot for you, just so you know, a number of LAPD officers are keeping their distance, but they're right behind. There they are, right behind that guy. They are running what they call code green, lights and sirens on. And just a reminder, if this thing gets off the freeway again, as it did a few minutes ago in Gardena, if it comes into your neighborhood, I know it sounds exciting and it looks exciting, but it's extremely dangerous. These pursuits can and often do end in gunfire. People are hurt, people are killed. It's in your best interest, if it comes into your neighborhood, stay indoors, keep the doors and windows locked. Oftentimes these suspects get out and they make a run for it, find the first open house they can find and commandeer it. You want to steer clear of all that. We're playing it forward just a little bit, but just so you know in advance, if it does come into your neighborhood, stay indoors, stay out of harm's way, and let LAPD officers and other agencies involved do their job and get that suspect taken into custody. So speeds now on the 110 northbound, they're going to dip down to about 20, 25 miles per hour. The express lane or the carpool lane, that's scooting right along at nearly full speed. He's holding to the right of those two express lanes as he works his way up now toward Manchester, and in no time at all, he'll be back into downtown. This is where we picked it up. So this suspect may live or work somewhere near downtown LA, somewhere near central LA. He may be going back to where the pursuit started, get back to some familiar ground. You may have a friend or a family member nearby. He may be using a cell phone to communicate with friends or family who may be trying to reason with him, trying to get him to pull over. But at this point, he just keeps on going. He's had a number of accidents along the way. Actually backed that pickup truck after an accident, backed it up into an LAPD cruiser, if you missed that earlier, and that can be construed as an assault with a deadly weapon. But LAPD officers using great constraint and crossing Sentry, they showed great constraint. There were no shots fired. They have tried to pull this guy over and pit him a number of times, but so far it hasn't been successful as we continue 110 northbound and now at the Century Boulevard off.
There, but he did exit the freeway, the 110. It's on Florence Avenue right now, and let's go back to Bill Thomas.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes next. This is the Florence Avenue off-ramp off the 110. If he makes that left and goes westbound, that'll take him over to the Faith Zone. He could go east and pick up Florence Avenue toward the Long Beach Freeway, and he might just use this collector lane and try to rejoin the freeway or just stay on this collector lane. Now, this is a residential neighborhood on the right or east side of the 110 in South LA. He exited Florence, continued northbound. Because this is a residential neighborhood, like we were telling you a few minutes ago, and these things get off the freeway, sometimes they go into a neighborhood, they get out and they run, they try to commandeer whatever they can commandeer, carjack somebody, enter your home against your will. That's why you want to stay indoors, keep the doors and windows locked. This is going to be Grand, northbound on Grand, on the right or east side of the Harbor Freeway. We'll open the shop for you in just a bit. LAPD officers telling us now they are still in the neighborhood. They're in what they call tracking mode now. They backed off just a bit because it's still very dangerous. There they are. They're about 8, maybe 10 car lengths behind. Grand northbound, and we'll see what he does here. Make a left or a right or stay in the neighborhood. And just to remind us, go back onto that suspect vehicle. They're calling it tracking mode now. They have they've been telling us that the suspect is inside that cockpit, inside the pickup truck. He's moving around quite a bit, shifting recklessly, moving things around, and they may get that information from their police helicopter overhead. They've got that camera, they're down low, they can look inside. So they get that information from the helicopter, they're passing that on to us, and that's why they're backing off just a bit. We'll open up there, he's got the red light. He's actually come to a stop here, northbound on Grand, and we'll see if he makes that left or right turn, east or westbound, or once that light turns green, continue northbound on Grand and try and re-access the Harbor Freeway. Because we did pick this up in downtown LA. I first heard about it near Wilshire Boulevard. I'm going to make that San Pedro and Olympic. That's where we first heard about it. He may be heading back to that general area. Right now, as the crow flies, we're about maybe 6 or 7 miles to the south, and we'll see if he continues to meander his way up toward downtown LA. This is a DUI suspect. Very little else is known about that suspect. We can't tell if there's anybody else inside that pickup truck in the front right passenger seat and the back seat either, because the windows all about that pickup truck are heavily tinted. The passenger window has been rolled down. We have seen that male driver wearing a sleeveless shirt, a white hat, and moving around quite a bit in the pickup truck and moving things around in the pickup truck, so we don't know what he's got. Problem here is for LAPD officers and anyone who gets involved in this pursuit, we don't know if that suspect is armed or dangerous, and outside of a possible DUI suspect, very little else is known. So now he made that turn. He picked up Grand northbound and made that turn westbound on Florence. If he continues westbound here, that'll take him over toward Vermont, toward Normandy. The Faith Dome is nearby. Looks like he's coming up under the Harbor Freeway. There he is at the gas station. This is an area known as Class B or Class Bravo airspace. This is an area that's controlled by LAX. A little difficult for us to get in, but we'll get as close as we can. We'll be working with the LAX controllers and seeing what happens next. Now it looks like he's going to make that U-turn or maybe pull into this gas station off of Florence and the 110. We don't want to lose it behind that awning, so we'll try to reposition accordingly, and we'll see if the tower will let us work this little chunk of airspace with them. He's in what appears to be a Chevron or a mobile gas station. This may be where it comes to an end, but he did this about 10 minutes ago, pulled into a gas station and a McDonald's parking lot in Gardena. We thought it was over.
All right, bear with us because...
Picked up and took off again.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, bear with us on the signal, guys. We're meandering. We're moving about quite a bit, trying to get that perfect angle. For folks here in the parking lot, this is the last place you want to be. You want to stay as far away from that suspect and as far away from law enforcement as you can. We don't know what this guy is thinking. We don't know what he's going to do next. And although LAPD officers told us a few minutes ago they were going into tracking mode, backing off just a bit, we still see him here in the neighborhood. They're at this gas station with that suspect. The entire gas station is surrounded. They're not going to box him in. They're not going to get offensive. They're going to stay defensive. They're going to stay behind him. If he takes off again, they'll continue again. They've got their lights on. They've got their sirens on. They're most likely using a loudspeaker, some kind of a PA system to communicate with that driver. If they don't believe he's responding well enough to English commands, they may use Spanish commands, and they have a number of foreign language speaking police officers on the force. They'll do whatever they need to do. So we're going to pull out just a bit. We're going to see if they got that spike strip in the street in case this guy tries to make an exit back onto Grand. He was on Grand, made that turn onto Florence, pulled into the gas station, and he may exit that gas station. Look at the bottom of your screen, your LAPD officers. They are standing by. They got that spike strip at the bottom of your screen, and as soon as he pulls forward, most likely what they'll do is throw that spike strip out. We're going to keep that shot just a little bit wider. He's turning the lights off. He had the windshield wipers on for some reason as well. May still have the flashers or a blinker on. We don't know what he's going to do next. We'll open up that shot for you. And most likely LAPD officers are telling people to exit safely if they can, or hunker down, stay away, push back in, stay away from that suspect. There's the spike strip, and he just ran over it with the right driver's side. He has made contact. So what that's going to do, it's not going to puncture the tire. People often ask about those stop sticks or spike strips. What that's going to do is start a slow leak. So he's got the another spike strip right there. Now the back tire as well. So that's good. He's made contact with a number of tires. There are run-flat tires. I think LAPD has some motorcycles with run-flat tires. But these tires will take a little bit of time, and the air will gradually ease out. This is going to be on flour now, going what appears to be the wrong way.
Is he on the wrong side of the road?
Yeah. Yeah. He is on the wrong side of the road trying to re-access Florence Avenue. Just made that right turn off of Flower. Heading back now, he's going to be eastbound on Florence. Next stop is going to be Grand. He'll come out under that Harbor Freeway. Those tires aren't going to lose their air anytime soon. It's going to take a little bit of time. Sometimes it can take 10, 12 minutes before all the tires lose all of the air. And then what happens, I've seen these pursuits go on and on and on. Once they lose all that air, then chunks of rubber start flying off the rims. Then the rims make contact with the concrete. That's going to generate friction. That's going to generate heat. Then the sparks start flying. And in no time at all, we see these cars start going up in flames. Then the suspect has nothing else to do. They do come to a stop, and they do get out very rapidly. When your car's going up in flames, what are you going to do? You get out and you make a run for it. So we told you on Grand a short while ago, he was northbound on Grand. He had to go east or west on Florence. He went westbound on Florence, back into the pickup truck after stopping for a short time. We've seen that happen a number of times. Now eastbound once again on Florence Avenue from the Harbor Freeway coming out of South LA. If it continues eastbound on Florence, the next major intersection, that'll take him over to the Long Beach Freeway, Florence Avenue eastbound. You'll see the Bicycle Club Casino in that general area as well. The 7:10 this time of the afternoon, it gets extremely congested. This is in the community of Florence, not too far from South LA, eastbound on Florence Avenue. And looking ahead off the nose of the helicopter, traffic immediately light, but up ahead by about a half a mile, I'm seeing a lot of stop-and-go traffic, a lot of stop signs as well, and that's what he's seeing most likely as well from the pickup truck, and that's why you see him in the center divider there, trying to get around all that traffic. We've seen him drive on the wrong side of the street a number of times.
His front tire is gone, Bill. It looks like his front tire is gone already. You can see it. The rubber is pretty much collapsed on it, and it's almost down to the rim,
Yes.
so he's really going to start losing control here, which is dangerous as well, especially if he's an impaired driver who refuses to give up. However, at least his spike strip clearly has had some success.
Right.
You know, the spike strip's very effective. It takes a few minutes, but the air does release. As we were describing for you a few minutes ago, you lose all the air out of that tire, at least the front tire. We're going to start seeing some sparks, some heat, and in time, you can see a little bit of fire come up as well. And another problem related to with these tires, when they start losing all their air, you do lose some of that stability. So you've got to take things slower and slower. The faster you go, the more stability you lose. And to regain some of that stability, you've got to slow down, sometimes 4 or 5 miles per hour.
Dangerous.
And this is going to be Florence Avenue eastbound. He just crossed Avalon, and he's scooting along here at about 45 miles per hour. Crossing Central now, while other folks are going about 10 miles per hour. He's up at 30 or 40, and you can't see he's lost at least the left
really
front
slowing
tire.
down.
It's losing a lot of the rubber. He's trying to, he keeps on going, narrowly missing pedestrians here at these intersections, making that rightbound turn, southbound turn. That's going to be Central. Now, as we talked about earlier, here comes the smoke. He must know something's up right now. He might not understand he hit the spike strips, but he's starting to feel that instability with his steering, and he saw the smoke. So the rubber's starting to come off those tires. Those rims, those metal rims are making contact with that concrete. The faster he goes, the longer he goes, those rims are going to get hotter and hotter. That'll generate heat, sparks, and in time it will generate a fire if he keeps going. Southbound on Central, making a right turn, so that'll give him a westbound turn. And look at the smoke coming out of the rear of that tire there. So he's lost at least 2, maybe more tires in the neighborhood, in the community of Florence. And just to remind you, if you live anywhere nearby, we're closest to Central Avenue and Florence in the neighborhood. Once again, stay inside. This is 75th Street westbound now. 75th westbound off of Florence in the neighborhood. Stay indoors. The suspect at any time could come to a stop, get out, make a run for it. LAPD officers are right behind him by less than, I would say, 1/8 of a mile. And if he gets out, makes a run for it, they're going to be right on top of him in no time at all. And there's really nowhere to hide. That police helicopter is overhead. The entire neighborhood surrounded with a number of law enforcement agencies. And now he just made that left turn. So this will be southbound. He's going to be on McKinley now, riding on what would appear to be only 2 good tires and a relatively well banged up full-size pickup truck. This guy has crashed a number of times that we've seen. He's also been pitted by LAPD cruisers a number of times on the Harbor Freeway a short time earlier. This is now back in South LA. They were in the community of Florence, but as you can see, this is a very heavily populated residential area. I can see there are high schools, there are elementary schools, there are middle schools here nearby. That means a lot of foot traffic, a lot of pedestrian traffic, and even if he tries his best to avoid that traffic, he's only going to have so much control over that pickup truck with limited tread on what appears to be only 2 good tires. He's lost the left front and possibly the right rear tire, and that might be why he's traveling very slowly right now on surface streets. I'd put him at about 15, maybe 20 miles per hour, and barely enough room for one car to get through with traffic just passing 79th, coming up on 80th. You may have just missed that, but a chunk of tread, a large chunk of tread, just came off of one of the tires. And look at that left front tire. He's riding pretty much on the rim right now. If he goes this slow, it's fine, but when he goes into a turn, he's going to lose a lot of that stability and then most likely slide out of control. And that's when, David Mellon, LAPD officers may jump in and try to implement that pit maneuver once again, because he is traveling at a relatively slow speed. They can look around the neighborhood and make sure there's not a risk for anybody else in the neighborhood, pedestrians or other people who are driving around town. At this point in South LA, they may jump in and do that pit any second now. Okay, once again, he's come to an end. He's approaching 82nd Street off McKinley. He may be drinking something. We don't know what it is, but this is a reported DUI suspect. He has come to a stop in a residential neighborhood, and this is so dangerous for folks in the neighborhood who want to come outside and take a look. At this point, I don't see anybody outdoors, but you'll hear the sirens. You may look out the window and see all those police cruisers, but these things do have violent consequences from time to time, and that's why we always tell you, given these situations, stay indoors. Keep the doors and windows locked. If he gets out and makes a run for it, he may aim for the first open door he sees. We'll go back tight now into that suspect. He doesn't appear to be getting out of the vehicle. He's drinking something. He appears to be relatively calm. For some reason, his windshield wipers are on, the headlights are on, but he has come to a stop here in South LA on 82nd Street. A number of schools, a number of businesses nearby, but primarily a residential community. Only a DUI suspect, but LAPD officers telling us a short while ago there was a lot of movement in the cabin. He was moving and shifting quite a bit. He was reaching under his seat. They don't know if he's armed, therefore they don't know if he's dangerous, and that's why we'll open that shop for you right now. Look at LAPD officers right behind that guy. They're keeping a little bit of a wide berth. They're out of their cruisers. They're very well trained. They have their weapons at the ready. They're ready for any possible contingency, but they're playing this very offensive. They're not being defensive as they were earlier this afternoon on the Harbor Freeway, for example, when they actually tried to pit that guy 3 separate times back into him. He's going to sit in that cockpit. He's going to sit in the cabin of that full-size pickup truck. He's most likely listening to commands of LAPD officers, but at this point, he is not complying, so we don't know what they're going to do next. If he puts that thing in reverse and goes backwards toward LAPD officers as he did before, they can look at that once again as an assault with a deadly weapon, and if necessary, they can, and I've seen them do it in the past, use deadly force. At this point, they'll continue keeping a wide berth. That pickup truck surrounded not only by LAPD officers on the ground, but the police helicopter with that bright light. You see, that's their night sun. They're shining it on the suspect so police officers can see exactly what's going on downstairs, and they're all working in concert with one another to see what this guy is going to do next. But at this point, it's kind of a waiting game. They've got just as much time, if not more, than that suspect has got. He may have ran out of gas as well. He has stopped, taken off a number of times, but at this point stopped on 82nd Street in South LA, and now it's just a waiting game to see if he comes out of that helicopter. And back to you.
Bill Thomas, thank you very much. Mark Brown and Michelle Tuzzi joining you now for Eyewitness News at 5. We are watching this pursuit that has wound its way from downtown to South LA, the South Bay, and back again. Bill, can you give us a location here of where you are exactly?
Yeah, we're in South LA. We're on 82nd Street. Looks like he may be facing westbound. He's off the nose of my house. Oh, it's actually he's southbound. He's southbound on 82nd Street off of Florence Avenue, which is about a quarter of a mile away. This is a suspect we picked up as a DUI suspect in downtown LA, I think a little over an hour ago. Meandered his way out of downtown LA onto the Harbor Freeway southbound from the South 110. He ended up in Gardena. He's on service streets for a while. He picked up the 110 northbound off at Vermont, pulled over at a gas station not too far from Vermont, actually on Flower and Florence, pulled in. We thought the whole thing was going to be wrapped up, but the guy took off once again. And Mark, he's done this a number of times this afternoon. He's been pitted by LAPD officers. You've seen the pit maneuver a number of times. He's been pitted a few times, and each time, even though he's a DUI suspect, we're not sure he's under the influence, but every time he got pitted, he was able to regain control and take off. And about 10 minutes ago, when he was at a gas station just off of Flower and Florence, LAPD officers had enough time to get the spike strips or stop sticks in place, and they were able to puncture at least a couple of the tires. We saw some smoke generated from one of the tires where the tread is pretty much just all but vanished. So at least 2 of the tires, he's running pretty much down on the ground, face down, arms and hands spread out before they approach the subject, frisk him, and take him into custody. At this point, it doesn't appear as though anyone's been injured, but this has been a wild chase with this suspect running red lights, running stop signs, driving on the wrong side of the road at one.
What do you make of that? Do you think he might actually been low on gas and thought somehow that he could stop and get gas and continue this pursuit, Bill?
Well, it is a DUI suspect. It's not confirmed that he is under the influence, but if he is, we did see him drinking from something in that pickup truck. Entirely possible. They get a little oblivious. They're not thinking clearly. They pull over. Maybe they think they're going to take on fuel. There was a McDonald's restaurant at the first gas station. You may have wanted to pull over, maybe grab some grub. But in any event, stopped, took off, stopped again at a second facility, waited a little while longer, which really worked to everyone's benefit. When he stopped over there on Florence Avenue near Flower, he gave LAPD officers enough time to mobilize, get out of their cruisers, get those spike strips ready, and they were able to implement those spike strips, and we believe he's lost
an officer or a unit with and the officer inside is in reasonable fear of their life or safety, and they can in fact open fire. They chose not to in this instance, and he sped off. There looked like two instances in which he was either backing toward that an officer, as we saw in that collision with the van, and then when one of the pit maneuvers on the freeway thus far. But what we've seen earlier is that he was tipping a bottle in there or something. He was drinking something, it appeared. Don't know. A lot of people will have their cell phone on them, and they'll be talking to people, relatives, friends.